A lot of the top creators here in Malaysia, you will see the whole comment section is like a WhatsApp conversation, replying to each other, right? So that's intentional. It is fun, but it's also intentional. So the more conversations you create in the comments, the more better your post does. The key is the more you post, the more you are top of mind, the more you are in people's memory, and the more opportunities you get. You focus in, zero in on one niche, whether it's fitness or whatever it is, and you consistently do it, and eventually people know you for that one thing. I'm very intentional on all the activities I do on LinkedIn, especially we are poor of time, right? So I only build relationships with the right people to get the right opportunities.
Last question, what's the advice you would give to all people using LinkedIn out there?
Hello listeners, welcome to the Century Egg Show, right? So this is part of the Asian Century podcast. So the purpose of this series is to drop some century eggs, which is some knowledge to you guys. So in the shooting a series with Elton, our producer Elton, so you can see him here today. I think one of the first times you see him. So we are going to drop a series and let him ask me some questions as part of this series. Elton.
All right, thanks Bob. And so today you have around 38,000 followers on LinkedIn, and recently we've been going to a lot of conferences where you've been talking about LinkedIn marketing. So why is it important? Why is LinkedIn important?
Yeah, so LinkedIn just crossed 1 billion users recently, and to me it's like, I would say, business social media. So it's one of the platforms where you can talk about serious topics, like if you want to talk about HR. I talk a lot about marketing there. Our podcast, the Asian Century podcast, when we talk to business leaders, I will have the carousel post there to share knowledge. So it is one of the few platforms, like TikTok also, but it's one of the few platforms where you can go in there and share knowledge, and it is the only platform where it is occupational based, right? So that means the people, if you are there, you have to state, you have to share your title, which is your CEO, owner, founder, manager, so you can actually have conversations with people who are important, right? Who you want to target based on their title and the industry, and of course geography as well. So for me, it's a great platform. I love creating content there to educate, to share my knowledge. So that's why LinkedIn is important. It's a platform it's a professional platform to reach a very important audience.
All right, so there are so many platforms. How do you actually get into LinkedIn in the first place?
Yeah, I think that's a bit related to my career as well. So back in 2014, 2015, I was one of the, that time I was in B2B sales. So I started to use LinkedIn even in my advertising years, using it for B2B sales. So I had the LinkedIn Premium account then, and I used it for sales. And after that, in 2018, I was one of the first one in Asia to post video on LinkedIn. So at that time, I think we can count around 50 people in the world that were creating content on LinkedIn. So what happened in 2018 was they were bought over by Microsoft. And from the takeover of Microsoft, they became a content platform also. And then you started to see videos, you started to see, now you have carousels, images on the platform. So that's how I started. I was one of the first to post content there, and I sort of went viral, and I've been posting content since.
I think ever since 2018 until now, the content has been changing. So what type of content works best on LinkedIn in general?
So if you compare with the other platforms, so maybe we can talk about Instagram first. So Instagram is a very visually driven platform, right? So on Instagram, you can, show beautiful things, you can show photography, you can, show your six-pack, right? So all those things work on Instagram. LinkedIn is not so much visually driven. In fact, it is the opposite.
Right.
It is text driven. And a lot of times, text posts do way better than image posts. But what I would say to answer your question is educational content works very well on LinkedIn. Of course, you have the jokes and laughter, you have the the weight posts that do very well. But in general, the audience on LinkedIn are professional people. They are people who are in senior positions, and they are older as well. So what they crave for is education. They love to learn.
Right. Speaking about content, you recently just wrote a piece of content. What goes behind, writing a piece of content? I see you bold, you tag people, and there's a lot of things going on. What's the strategy behind that?
Yeah, so when it comes to writing on LinkedIn, like I said, you need to educate. So I have already, written thousands of content on LinkedIn, so I have a trained GPT lah. I have a script that I've shared with Elton also. I'm not sure if you use, right? But I've shared with you also that script, right? So that script allows me to write very humanly, but very importantly, when it comes to writing on LinkedIn, and it's the first 3 lines, right? So like you said, the bomb, that line is in bold. So the first 3 lines, you need to capture attention. Right, so like for example, I was on BFM recently, so I say, hey, welcome to Bob FM, right? So you capture that attention in that first line, and one way you can do it, we use a software called Authored Up, right, which I've shared with you. Then you can actually bold the text there, and the way you write, and you can actually go to my profile and see there's a lot of spacing in the content, and I have a script for this, and the key is to build that engagement for people to read for the content, and also to have a call to action for them to engage as well.
And I see you do tag a lot of people. Who do you know who to tag, and what's the reasoning behind tagging them?
Yeah, it's not a lot of people. I tag some people, all right, in the content. So that is a very interesting question. So actually that goes to the question, how to get more views for your content. All right, so when you want to get more views, most creators know this. How to get more views is you have more likes and comments on the post, right? So you get that, what we call engagement, likes and comments. So one way to get those likes and comments is to actually tag people, so they get a notification you've been tagged in this post. So for example, the post that you saw, I tagged 2 very specific people because of the conversations I remember I had with them, right? So when they said something to me, or in their previous posts. So when I tag people, I will remember conversations I had with them. So if you want that engagement, you need to actually tag them to get that engagement. So one way I think about it is, before I write that piece of content, I already know who to tag. I remember, okay, for example, if I'm writing about chicken rice, all right, so I'll tag my Singaporean friends, or I'll tag those who have chicken rice with me, or I remember somebody who talk about food, right?
Okay.
So the specific one that you saw, I tagged Benjamin, because he actually gave me a comment about public speaking before, and he's a public speaking expert. So sometimes I will tag people based on their previous posts, or the interactions we had, or if it's related to them. For example, if I write a post about the SEZ, about the Johor SEZ, I would tag those LinkedIn connections that are living in Johor. I have a post about Penang, I will tag somebody called Captain James, right, who lives in Penang itself. So wherever I create a post, I will think, okay, who can I involve in this conversation?
Right. I mean, just like you spoke about getting more views, other than tagging, does the time of posting affect your engagement too?
Yeah, so the time of posting, right, is a very interesting question I get every time I do training about LinkedIn or speak about LinkedIn. It's actually not the best question. The best question to reverse engineer, right, is why you want to post at the best time is to get more views. So reverse engineering as well, why you want to post in, let's say in the morning, is because a lot of people will have an opportunity to see that post, to like and comment on that post, so that the post will do well. So let's say you post at 3 a.m. at night, nobody will like and comment. So that is the rationale behind it, right? So in short, the answer is morning, because then your post will live out throughout the day, and more people will like and comment, and the post will do well. Having said that, there are exceptions. I have posted in the evening, I've posted at night, and if you can get the people to like and comment at night as well. For example, I used to have posts that are dedicated to the US audience. So I post at night, which is morning for them. So to answer that question, it's not about the time. It's not about 9:15, 9:07 or 8:15 a.m. It is the best time for your audience to like and comment and to see the post.
Right. And I think another question after that would be, how frequent do you post? Once a month, once a week? I think one of our that we interviewed, Dr. Ahmad, once every 15 minutes. How often should you post your content?
Yeah, I think that's really up to your own capacity. I have no answer to that. I personally post, I try to post every single weekday. And some of my clients post 3 times a week, once per week, 2 times a month. It's very up to your capacity. But the key is, the more you post, the more you are top of mind, the more you are in people's memory, and the more opportunities you get. So I think it's a balance. We're not like, there's not like YouTubers, right? So like LinkedIn you don't get paid by posting on the platform. So it's a balance you have to strike by running your business or working your work or doing whatever you do and also posting content.
Right. And posting content doesn't equate to getting followers, I think. So you reach 38,000 followers. What's your strategy to actually getting that followers?
I actually went viral a few times. I think that does help. So I think one that I remember when I posted in 2020, I had one post that went viral because I tagged Neil Patel. It was a post with a marketing guru, and I tagged Neil, and Neil commented. Neil Patel is of course the #1 marketing guru in the world,
Right.
and he commented that post, that video post, actually so interesting. Video post hit 100,000 views. I had a joke that went viral. That joke got millions of views on LinkedIn and other platforms also. That does help. I think the short answer, right, if you want to hack this, right, just take a photo with PMX, take a photo with Obama, take a photo with whatever world leader you can grow. You just, same like all platforms, right? You want to grow fast, the shortest way is the Hawk Tuah girl or whatever. So to get that followers. To grow consistently, I would say is those posting content. I have content that sometimes I post the rankings, sometimes I post educational content, is to be very consistent with the post. That's how I grow very consistently, and sometimes I grow in sharp growth because of viral content.
Hey everyone, producer Elton here. We share stories from business leaders in Asia, and if this video brought you any value, hit the subscribe button and remember to turn on the bell notification icon to get notified of our latest episodes. Thank you for your support. See you back in the video. Okay, so another thing I also see what you do on your posts is you comment a lot on your own posts. What's the reason behind that?
So I think what you saw was, I post the podcast link, ask people to support us by subscribing. Sometimes I start another conversation there. So like, I think earlier I shared, you want to get more views, you need to get more comments, get more likes.
Correct.
So the key is sometimes, and you'll see the top content creators do this, no matter how big they are, they still do this. You create your own comments first, right? So I always post the podcast link there. If you want to support us, please subscribe to the podcast. Another way is you can say, hey, these are 3 tips. The 4th tip is in the comments. So people go to a comment and tag you. So I love creating conversation. So the post you saw, I also ask people, hey, have you seen a recording? Have you done this before? So you create more conversations, right? So on AutoDub, they have this thing called the direct comment. So the direct comment is the first comment. Then when they reply to that comment, that's an indirect comment. So you have many of these levels of comments. So the key is, and a lot of the top creators here in Malaysia, you will see the whole comment section is like a WhatsApp conversation, replying to each other, right? So that is intentional. It is fun, but it's also intentional. So the more conversations you create in the comments, the more better your post does.
So with all this following, how do you actually build some genuine relationships on LinkedIn that actually translate into the real world?
So also on LinkedIn, it's very important to build conversations because you get to build conversations with CEOs, business leaders, and even government leaders, right? So you want to have those relationships. It's called a professional networking platform. So it's supposed to network. And a lot of times, I do a lot of my networking on LinkedIn. Or if I meet someone at a networking event, I will also connect with them on LinkedIn. So how you build those relationships, of course, the most simple one is, let's say, someone that you really want to build a relationship with, you want to do business with. You make sure you comment if they post, right? Of course, you can also tag them in your post if it's relevant to them. What I personally do for these people I want to build a relationship with is I go to their profile, I follow them. Very important to follow them. You want to connect with them also can. And there's this bell notification icon, right? So you turn that on. So every time they make a post, you will also get a notification and you'll be the first one to comment. And that's how I build relationship with a lot of our guests and also a lot of our potential clients and also business leaders as well. So I think you've been with me to Singapore, you've been to me with a lot of places. People come and say hi to me, and I get a lot of maybe sometimes privilege as well from these relationships. Like people come and meet me, and even in Singapore, in Australia, people will come and send me to airport, right? You will come and buy me meals. I had someone buy me wine and breakfast in Australia. I've met LinkedIn connections in Jakarta. They brought me to podcast studio and we had a lot of guests. So it's actually how I actually built my podcast as well, through LinkedIn and through these relationships too.
Is it because of the work that you do, or does everyone can use the same strategy that you do?
Everyone can turn on notifications, everyone can comment.
I think the question was, if I'm someone who just is a normal, let's say I'm a senior manager or someone who's just doing a corporate job, does this work for me too, or is this something that there's another way to approach it? Because
Yeah.
like you are a personality in some sense that you have your own podcast and your agency, this kind of thing.
Even more so. If you, let's say you are a senior manager and you are eyeing, let's say, to move on to another company, then you build relationships with that other company. You start turning on the notification icons for their CEO, for their president, and you'll be the first one to comment.
Right.
It's the same. Everyone has the same time and same functions.
Okay, and this is a personal question actually. I do receive people connecting and then they message me in their DMs. Oh, hi, something, met you here. How personalized should your notes go if, let's say, you try to connect with someone that way?
Oh, that's a great question. So let's say I want to connect with them. So just now I said you want to connect, Ken, because I sort of don't want to say so much. But okay, if you want to go there, so the connection is important. So I also don't want to seem salesy.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't even include a note.
Okay.
It really depends. Sometimes what I see is the best one is if I see, let's say I just did this as well. I see they won an award.
Okay.
Right? So I say, hey, congratulations on the award. Or I see they just completed anniversary or they just got promoted. Then I'll say in the connection request, congratulations on your new promotion. I think another way also I see what is their latest post. So for example, if they say, if they had a latest post on International Women's Day, then I'll say, hey, I just read your post on International Women's Day, and that's it. I don't want to seem salesy.
Okay.
Right? So then they connect and then, I'll start a conversation, and lead the conversation somewhere.
I think there's a lot of way to go about in LinkedIn, especially it depends on how your time is, your strategy is. What are the most common misconceptions you see happening on LinkedIn?
So misconceptions, I would say, is that people think that, when you're on LinkedIn, things just come to you, right? I know all the top creators out there, they post on LinkedIn even multiple times a day. I know, especially in Malaysia, a lot of people post multiple times a day.
Okay.
There's a lot of hard work going to it. You can also use paid media. So it's not that you are LinkedIn, you post content, or you just stay there, then things come to you. There's a lot of, I think the one word I want to put out here is a lot of intention. The people that I network with, I build relationship with, I turn on the bell notification icon, I message. I have a target that I zero in, right? So I have that specific target, and I'm very intentional on all the activities I do on LinkedIn, especially we are poor of time, right? So I only build relationships with the right people to get the right opportunities.
I mean, with that in mind, how do you generate leads through this kind of strategy?
Yeah, so just now I mentioned, right? So it's I only spend time on the right amount of people. So when my clients go on LinkedIn or when I have calls with my potential clients, what I ask them is, what is your target? Who are you targeting? Is it like procurement managers? Or is it like HR managers, or is it HR directors, CEOs, presidents? They are on LinkedIn.
Right.
So your strategy, no matter it is, sometimes we run ads, sometimes we do lead generation campaigns, sometimes we do events, sometimes we do content. It is a reverse engineer of identifying your target, right? So for example, you can be all HR managers in Australia,
right,
or all CEOs in Australia in the mining industry, for example.
Okay.
So reverse engineer from your target, then we'll talk about the tactics, right? Whether it's ads, whether it's lead gen campaigns, or whether it's content.
Right. So it really depends on who you're targeting. You go and zero in on that, create the relationship, then only you look into lead generation from there.
Then only I develop a strategy. So as long
Alright.
as I have the target, then we can have a discussion.
With all that in mind, so how do you build a strong LinkedIn personal brand today?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I see a lot of personal brands out there. I think the worst thing that could happen is if I meet you and see you on LinkedIn and I say, actually, what do you do? Then that's a strong personal brand. So my advice, and this you've met a lot of my guests who come on the podcast, right? And a lot of them have good LinkedIn presence.
Okay.
So they are standing up for something, right? Whether it's mental health, whether it's health in general, wellness, whether it's finance, right? Whether it is tech, and in the future we get like cyber security. So you find your positioning, right? For me, it's business leaders in Asia and also marketing. You find your positioning and you keep posting content on that, right? So our friend Benjamin Loh, right? So he's about speaking and social media. So I only post about that. So you build personal brand on LinkedIn. You, of course, just now we talked about what type of content. You post that type of content, but you zero in on one niche, whether it's fitness or whatever it is, and you consistently do it. and eventually people know you for that one thing.
Last question. What's the advice you would give to all people using LinkedIn out there?
So I think it's still an emerging platform. I think the latest results say that only 2% create content on LinkedIn. So it is still a good platform for you to create content and establish yourself. And like I said, building relationships, it is the best one. When you meet someone for coffee from Instagram or from LinkedIn, it is very different.
Okay.
You're more likely to meet them from LinkedIn because there's that credibility there.
Right.
LinkedIn is quite credible. It builds that credibility. So use it to build relationships. You can go very far. Like I said, I've met people from all over the world using LinkedIn. So start building relationships there. Start having a target and start creating content there. It's fairly new. Not many people creating content yet. And today is not too late to start.
All right. Thank you.